right, welcome in everyone. Today is meeting number 3. So this meeting is going to be especially important for the rest of the semester. So I am going to ask everyone, unless you're taking notes on your laptop or on your iPad, if you like really want to follow along, but I actually don't recommend trying to follow along just because this meeting is going to be a lot of like the fundamental concepts for this semester. I'm gonna ask everyone to put away like their laptops and devices. Okay. I am recording this meeting, but that's for the sake of someone else who won't be here. But if you guys need this recording, please feel free to watch it. Okay. I had an icebreaker, but I think we just don't have time for that. So as a reminder, here's today's agenda. Thank you guys for making it. Thank you to everyone who completed last week's task. Zeal is going in and looking at whoever completed their task. And if she doesn't know your name, she will also be asking for your name for attendance. We are going to have a little intro to web development, an intro to React, and then do like a little project walkthrough, and I will be doing demos of that. If it feels too fast, it's because it probably is. I'm trying to fit in a lot of things for today, but I will be available, like Zeal and I will be available throughout the week if you guys just want to hop on a call to debug, to learn if like anything I said didn't make sense. Just definitely like take note of it, and then I can help you guys walk through that during today's office hours or this week. Okay, our last week's task was a GitHub template. So some of you, I think when you're doing like the owner thing, you set the owner as WiCS. Don't do that. Set yourself as owner so then you can have access to your repository afterward. But overall, I think everyone did this task, so thank you so much. Okay. Intro to web development. So we're going to go over how it works. We're going to go over front end versus back end. In today's, the bulk of today's, in the next couple of weeks, meetings are going to be on front end. We're going to go over frameworks and libraries, what is React and Next.js, and why do we even use it, and we are not going to go over deployment. Okay. So in the beginning, web development just started with basic static pages. It was just displaying data, information, and like basic images. Over time, the web pages that you're seeing now are like more dynamic, and that's why our tools have gotten more complex, and that's why you see all these new libraries and frameworks coming out, because we just need more tools to be able to do these types of tasks more easily. And especially now we're in this like new age of more personalized content, targeted ads, and I believe like in order to, really be part of this like movement and make sure that you guys are ahead of the curve, to have like this basic like fundamental understanding of like what is actually happening when you go to a URL, like where is this information coming from and how is this interacting with the servers, right? If you guys have ever heard of CDNs, or like if you're really interested in networking, like this is kind of like a little bit of an introduction to that. But first of all, what is front end and what is back end? So front end is just that content that the user is going to interact with. So it's going to be like, I didn't finish this, but like buttons and images and links and whatnot. So the tools that you'll hear like associated with front end are going to be like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, Angular, Vue. And this is going to run on the browser. So we're going to go on to that a little bit, but you'll hear a lot of things like client side and server side. Typically when people are talking about what's happening on the front end, they're talking about what's happening on the client side. As opposed to that, backend is like really like maintaining that app logic. So on Instagram, you're going to see like your posts that are on your friends' feeds, and you're gonna see people's like those buttons and the keyboard to be able to send messages. But the backend is actually what's like storing the photos that you're seeing and storing that user authentication and the login information. And a lot of tools that you'll need in order to master backend are like Python and Java and Node and like these databases, or if you've heard of Firebase, and the backend is running on the server. So later on this semester, we're going to teach you guys how to call APIs for your website if you really want to add that like complexity. Sometimes people like to add like a Spotify API to show what music they're currently listening to. So that is like the back end logic. But we will be mainly working with the front end. So how does the front end work? Well, when you open up a browser like google.com, what's happening, like right now you just search, you see Google, right? What's happening is your browser is going to send a request to display this content to you, right? So any URL that you visit is going to request the HTML content. And what happens is it returns this HTML file. Typically, like the default is just index.html, and that HTML file will have two types of content. One is going to have this text, like welcome to my page, and then it's going to have tags. So HTML is what we consider the skeleton of every website, of like any website that you see, it's going to have HTML behind it. Like you look at this Google Slides, this bad example, but if you go to inspect, you're going to see elements. All of this over here is HTML. When you open it up, like this is the skeleton of every site that you're going to see on your browser. So this is the first part of the trinity, the like trinity of front end that you'll see. HTML is a language. I think it's called hypertext markup language, something like that. And all it is it's just the content. So you'll see that within your HTML, you'll have like this little structure. So first you surround everything with like your HTML tags, and then you have little sections within here. So you have your body, which is the main content, and within that you have your header and then your paragraph tags. So HTML is very straightforward. I have no doubt that you guys will be able to like get a hang of this within like the first like 20 minutes of playing around with HTML. It's super intuitive. I think if you guys have like done web development in middle school, like it's really straightforward. So I just took a screenshot of what my an HTML file from my personal website, and you'll see like the structure follows like the same structure over here, where we have like the head over here, which is just all the information about the website. So the title of my website is called home. You have all this other extra information. You guys don't need to worry about that right now. You don't need to understand it. It's just extra stuff. But you'll notice that I have a body in here, and within that, even like visually, you can see how things are nested, right? That's really helpful. You have the body on top, which is all your main content, and then within that, this header tag tells you exactly what it is. This is like my header, and within that, this div basically marks out a section of your code. So yeah, you guys will use divs a lot, but I think next week when we go more into styling, you guys will get more exposure to that. But within these containers, you can actually give them different names so you can differentiate them. So I just gave this one, oh, this is my header link section, because within my header, I'm going to have a bunch of links to different areas of my life. So I have a link to my Gmail, I have a link to my GitHub, I have a link to my LinkedIn. So like, it looks really complicated at first, but this, as you like kind of walk through this code, it literally tells you what it's showing you. It's showing you, this is my main content, this is my header, and then within my header, I have a container of 3 different links, and these are where the links lead to. And then I have my text content within it. And the way that HTML is set up is you always have a starting tag. This is what a tag is, H1. And then you have a closing tag at the end. Okay. And then within that, you'll place your text. And you always need to close your tags with this little slash over here. Okay. I also did a bit of a close-up over here. So you can see that within this tag, I have text. And then you'll see that actually each of these tags have attributes. So in my image tag, this is img, that stands for image. It means that I want to add an image, and the source over here is saying, okay, this is the image that I'm referencing, and then I give it an ID, and then I gave it this class. So this class is actually going to help us style our page. Because right now, if you just have the plain HTML, it's just going to show the text. It's not going to look very pretty. It's not going to look like the way that you want it to. So in order to style our pages, what we do is within our HTML, we actually add a class, and that class will be accessed within our styles file. So actually in my HTML file, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I actually have a link up here within my head that links a style sheet, and it references this styles.css folder. And this is where the second part of the trinity of HTML, CSS, JavaScript comes from. So our styles.css folder is going to hold all of our styles for our HTML. Yes, CSS, the styling for your website. There's not really much to go into here. All you do is you just get the selector like you have over here, and then you add your styling over here. There are so many, once you start doing, like, this is also very straightforward, like with HTML. Like, you could probably spend like 2 hours just writing out your HTML and CSS, and then by the end of it, you would be a master. It's really, really, there's so many guides online, but honestly, just playing around, breaking things, finding out what does and doesn't work, it'll be really easy to like kind of figure it out. But here's an example. Like here I have this selector, this is my selector, and within that I have different traits that I want to attach to that selector, to that item with this particular ID, right? So I want the padding to be 0, I want to justify the content so it's like centered, I want to align it so it's centered. These are all things that we're going to actually go more into next week. So you guys won't be doing any major styling this week. It'll actually be for next week, but we just wanted to get you guys exposed to this. But this is how people make their sites look pretty with CSS. Okay. All right, now back to HTML. So within our HTML file, not only can we link our styles.css folder, but you can actually load our JavaScript files as well. So you can see within my HTML, I also have this tag that says script source equals script.js. That's my JavaScript file that's holding all of my JavaScript. So you can check out the JavaScript file. So what we saw before is HTML is the content of the website, and then CSS is making it look pretty, but you need your website to do a little more than look pretty, right? JavaScript is basically what's providing these listeners for user events. So if you go onto a page and then you click a button, that button should load the next page, load the page, or it should do something, or it should increase the counter, right? So what it's doing is just manipulating the HTML based on events, and it can send and request data to and from the server. So this concept of a server is coming back, where before we noticed that the browser was requesting HTML content, right? But the JavaScript is actually what's going to interact with the server to get data for like from the back end as well. Okay. This is kind of what a JavaScript file looks like. Again, you don't need to understand this right away. I just wanted to show you guys what that looks like. Okay, so just putting it together, you can build any static website with just 3 files. An HTML file, a JavaScript file, and a CSS file. These are just like extra things that assets just holds my images, and then your README, you guys have seen that before. So again, this is kind of like a lot of stuff. You don't need to master everything right now, but the main takeaway that you should have is that HTML is a skeleton, HTML plus CSS is styling, and then JavaScript just kind of like adds that extra pizzazz. So I want to do like a short demo of my personal website that I made in my freshman year, if I can find it. So if I, oh, this is 261, so, okay, sorry guys. So that's for it. So this is a website that I built in my freshman year, and if you actually inspect it, you can look at the HTML. Okay, I don't think that would be helpful. But it kind of like you can link it to like different, like you can go to different pages and stuff, and you can click on stuff, and then you can visit my email. You can email me. You can go back home. Very basic, but literally all of this is just 3 files. So like if you look at this, I only have 3 files in here. So that is like the power of web development. Once you master HTML and CSS, you can do a lot of really powerful things. Like all of this is just one index.html page. And as you walk through this, you'll realize like, oh wow, I can like see what's happening here, like happening in my website. Let's see, maybe there's something that would be helpful. Okay, in my, oh, here, JavaScript. So this is a JavaScript snippet that I showed earlier. So I have this selector that's basically selecting a particular HTML element, and once I click on that, I'm going to remove its active class, which means like I'm not going to make it, which I'm going to remove that styling for any classes that have active, and then I'm going to add it to the one that was clicked, right? JavaScript is just really powerful with that, and it's yeah, I think the main thing I just wanted to show you guys is that HTML, CSS, JavaScript, those are like the basic fundamentals for all web development, and you guys are going to get so much practice with that this semester. Like by the end of it, it'll be like easier than any other language you've learned this like during your time at UIC. Okay, that was a bit much, but did anyone have any questions about that, or just like anything that seemed unclear? Okay. Again, mainly I just wanted to provide that as an introduction. I don't expect like a deep or thorough understanding. I just want it to at least look familiar, so then the next time you guys look at it, like next week, you can like say, oh, I like remember that from week 3. Okay. Whatever. So technically, you can just code like your script.js file to code your, like you can just use basic vanilla JavaScript to code your entire application. But the way that I did it, like no one actually does that in today's age, because it's like trying to like code your CS211 project in Vim or like in your terminal instead of using VS Code. Like it's possible, and there's like nothing stopping you from doing that, but it's just time consuming. And VS Code, if you guys couldn't tell, it provides a lot of efficiency for you guys. It provides a lot of tools, but technically you could do the same things in like Vim as you could in VS Code. So that's the reason we use frameworks. So frameworks are just like a collection of tools and code templates to help you get your website from like looking like this. Like, to be honest, no one wants to read this entire JavaScript file. Like, this is really like not this is not the typical standard. It's just too much. So what we do is that we use frameworks to help us give us pre-built components and boilerplate code, and just add a bunch of extra features that just make our lives easier. So essentially, frameworks help us code more easily. So there are a couple of popular front-end frameworks, and the one that we're using this semester is going to be Next. This is just a nerd thing. Okay, so we will be using Next as our framework. So this framework is built on React. These are like a couple extra terms that we'll get more familiar with this semester. But the main thing you need to know is that it's built on React, and we'll go into what React is later. But yes, it's built with React and a couple of other things. Bundlers are, I'll go into that later. I don't want to do that. But I also wanted to clarify. So a lot of people will say React, like I built this website with React, but technically React is just a JavaScript library, and Next.js is the framework built on React. And later we're going to deploy our website with Vercel. but technically it's like React is like the engine of the car, and then like Next.js is the car built around it. So you would say, typically you would say, oh, I'm driving a Porsche instead of I'm driving a car. Like you wouldn't say, oh, I'm if you're using Next, it's basically implied that you're using React. So like if you're talking to an employer or someone who's interviewing you, you would tell them, okay, I'm building my Next.js project on Vercel, because it's just implied that you're using React. So I just wanted to clarify that. So like over here in this diagram, this is kind of like misleading. They're claiming React is a framework, but like if you ask React, they will say they're a library. And like if you actually search it up, they'll say, okay, React is a library. But you can basically treat it like a framework. This is a lot of term. I'm like kind of regretting all this text and stuff. But all you guys need to know is Next.js is a framework. It's built with React. Okay, so then what's a library? So a library is just like a collection of code that can be imported into your project. It's very similar to a framework, but it's usually used for a more specific functionality, whereas frameworks are a lot more wide-reaching. So frameworks can include libraries. For example, Next.js, the framework that we're using, which was built on React, provides us with our React library. So other examples are jQuery and Animate CSS. Actually, in my personal website that I built on, built in my freshman year was actually built with jQuery. So I just used that jQuery library. So what a library basically does for me is it just makes syntax easier. So you can import a library using all these other means, but all you need to know right now is that the Next.js framework comes with the React library by default. So you don't need to add React as a library. So now you guys can like have a little bit more of a thorough understanding of the tools that we're using this semester. So the framework we're using is Next, which comes with the React library. Okay. So React is going to be your life for the rest of the semester. You should wake up thinking about React. You should go to bed thinking about React, because this is basically the most important thing you need to learn this semester. Like everything here, this is all just building up to React, because the wonderful thing about React as a library is that it just like changed the game, guys. Like you went from having to make websites that look super janky like this, and your JavaScript was like you put all of your JavaScript in one file, but now React makes things so much easier where you can like actually use components. And it makes code a lot easier to read for the developer, and someone who doesn't even code could look at React code and be like, oh wait, I kind of understand what's happening. So everything that we're coding like this semester is going to be using like the React JavaScript library. I kind of put this huge rant here, but you're going to see like articles and videos saying like, oh, React's outdated, blah, blah, blah. But don't listen to them, because you really should know React, because one, I'm telling you, but like even if the technology you use or the framework or the library that you use changes in the future, like the fundamentals and like the core concepts of web development you're gonna learn by learning React. So I just like, I know I sound like a React fan, like it's not that deep, but like you really should learn React. Okay. Before, you had to do your JavaScript and your HTML in separate files, right? Remember, like it was just really just janky and just not fun. Like it's just not fun to look at. But now you can combine JavaScript and HTML into one file and put them into like smaller pieces, so it's just a lot easier to read and a lot easier to use. So what happens is React created this new language called JavaScript XML. So this is just a combination of JavaScript and XML. Okay, JavaScript and HTML. And we'll skip that. Okay. So this is kind of what a JSX file will look like. So if you have welcome.js, so let's say your file name was called welcome.jsx, you would have a function that acts, a function called welcome. And then this is where you have all your JavaScript. So this is, in JavaScript, you're creating a variable and you're giving the variable the value of Flory. And over here, this is very familiar. This is the HTML that we've been seeing before, right? This is from this is HTML. You see the same tags, but the difference is now you can actually use JavaScript within your HTML. So you have this name variable, and anytime you want to embed JavaScript within your HTML, you just use these brackets. This is a game changer because now like you can add variables. There's just so much you can do now. Yeah, and then later we're gonna go over what export is. But basically, all I want you guys to take away is that this is kind of like what React is. Like now you can break up your code into reusable components, into very simple code. Here's another example that's like really powerful about our JSX. You know how in any programming class you're going to learn about arguments and parameters and passing in variables? Well, now you can do the same with your HTML. So like let's say you have an app where depending on who opens the app, you want to display a different name for that person. Well, like this is part of the process of doing that. Like instead of saying hard coding, hey, this person, you could actually pass in a prop. So what we have here is we have this function and we use this component called greeting. Like this function itself is a greeting component, and within the name field, this is considered this like a parameter, but this is a prop. We're passing in the prop Sam. So then later in our function, we're accessing any props, and we're gonna say, okay, we want our name prop to show up right here. We're gonna access it by using our JavaScript embed, right? And we're gonna do Sam as props.name. And then over here we have Alex. So then the output of this would be hello Sam and hello Alex, because we passed in these arguments, right? So this is kind of what JavaScript JSX would look like. Here's an example of it in work. So all of this is just HTML, the HTML that you guys have seen before. We have our function on top that you've seen before, our function. In this instance, instead of doing a separate export default app, they just combined it, so it's just export default function course. This is the name of the component. And then inside our component, we have to return our HTML elements. And you can see we have several elements with, again, these attributes that you guys have seen before. And then in some of these, we have our text. Okay. Yeah, this is like HTML, but like cooler. And then our components are a function. So within a JSX file, you can import files like a style sheet, but in this project, we actually won't be using a style sheet because you'll be using Tailwind.css or Tailwind CSS. Raise your hands, who has used Tailwind before? Perfect. Okay, you guys will love Tailwind. It is so much easier than using a style sheet. But okay. I kind of threw a lot at you guys. No, so it's okay. I'm sorry, but just like look at this code for like 30 seconds, and like maybe I can get a couple volunteers to like tell me what, like describe any part of this code, and then we'll work through it together. Oh, go ahead.
So I can see that some of this HTML, and then where it says image source cat, I think it's creating a card, and the card, the image where it's coming from is cat, and then there's a header. I think that's a class that we're using or something that is
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, so we have our HTML content that you saw over here that's being returned within this return. And you see that it's being surrounded by this div, which again is kind of just like marking out a section. And within that, we have an image, which you noted, and then we have a header, and then we have another header. So actually what these H2 and H4 stand for is 2 and 4 indicate the size of the header. So H1 is like the largest header you can have, and as you go down, or as you go up, the header sizes decrease. So H2 would actually be larger than H4, which makes sense because you have heading at H2 and then the text at H4. Any other notes that you guys see in this code? Anything that looks familiar or new? I have no problem with silence.
I don't remember if you already said this, but you see where it says styles.layout. I can see from the top import styles from. It's getting a style from a CSS file. So that's like how it's like formatting everything. And where it says img source cat, if you look up it says cat import from, and that's where like the actual link to the cat is coming from.
Exactly. Thank you, Isabella. So you can see that at the top, this is where we're importing different, basically data or like code from other files. So these are like the paths to those files. So over here it says that we're importing styles from .module.css. So again, you see that style sheet coming in, and over here in our class name, like in this case, this is in React, instead of class, we use class name. So in class name, we're accessing the styles from our CSS folder, and then we're gonna grab the layout field. And then over here, you can see we imported cat at the image over here. So now over here, the source of our image is going to be cat. And then we have card. Card is actually being passed in as a prop over here. We were talking about props earlier, right here, but in this case, this is what a prop would look like, and we're accessing different fields of that prop. So if the prop has a heading field, we do card.heading and then card.text. Okay, thank you. Okay, so that was a lot, but I believe in you guys. So how does this apply to our project? Like, you're looking at this code and you don't know what's going on and everything looks really confusing. Do not fear. We are here. Okay, so you have the app folder is what's holding a lot of the app logic. Over here, we have all our pages. So we have our about page, our contact page, our projects page. And within that, we have different JSX folders. Files. So you can assume that those JSX files are going to look really similar to what these files look like. They're going to have some export default function, and they're going to have some HTML inside, right? So that's what our pages will look like. Over here, these are going to be like our page.tsx that's outside over here. Outside of these folders, that's going to be like our home page. Like that's going to be the default page that we see when you open up the site. And then the layout .tsx, we'll go into that later. But all of these other things you really don't need to worry about. I just added this text in case you guys are curious. I mean, you guys have seen readme.md before, but anyway, mainly you guys will be working within these folders and these files. And during today's demo, I'm gonna walk you guys through it together. But yeah. Okay, actual demo now. Hopefully everything will connect and everything will make a little bit more sense. But what's gonna happen is I'm going to close this, and here is the here is the code that I got from the template, right? This is everything that I have from the template. So what I'm gonna do is first I have to run npmi. We will set up these instructions for you guys later to install the packages. So anyway, I'll go into the reasoning for that in the Discord channel later tonight if you guys are curious, but I think it will take too long. Okay, so when you're done, you're gonna find some message like this. So that means you did it correctly. And then I'm gonna do npm run dev. And what that does is that runs our code on the server. So you're gonna see something like this, like local network. So I'm gonna access my website by pressing command and then hovering over the link. And then I'm gonna click on it. And now it tells me that something's broken. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so by default, everyone's website is going to look like this when you open it up. And the reason this is because within our app folder, you can see that our page.tsx folder file, when you look inside it, we have a couple different elements. We don't need this. We have our function, which is our home function, and we're going to return this every element in here. So first we have our surrounding div, which is like our container, and then we have some styling attached. This will be explained next week. Okay, sorry. And then you have 3 different links, and we have a link to our about page, we have a link to our contact page, and we have a link to our projects page. And within these links, we have the names of the links. So if I change this to be hello, that's gonna update live for you on the side. So that's something really convenient. As you're coding, you can see those live updates immediately. I'm gonna undo that. Okay, so another thing is you can see that we actually had to import link from next link. So actually, if we get rid of this, our code is not going to recognize what link is. So what we have to do is tell them, okay, we're importing this link element from Next.js. So we need to tell React that that's where link is coming from. So our task for you guys this week is literally open up page.tsx, and we're gonna add like a very basic element to it. So what we're gonna do is within our folders, you can, oh wait, I also wanted to show you guys. So if you click on about, you'll see that it takes you to localhost whatever /about, and then that's the link that we put right here. And if we go up to our about folder and we go into page.jsx, you'll see that this is gonna be confusing. We have a function, and it's returning this div. So actually, I could rewrite this function to look a little more familiar. Function. That's so it's less confusing. Okay. So actually, this does the exact same thing as the function before, but I think this one's more familiar. So again, all of our components are basically just functions that return HTML. And that's like the innovative thing about React. That's what makes React so helpful. So this is our about component, and it's returning this HTML that just has the text about. And if you inspect it, you'll see within your head, yeah, some stuff. Okay, wait, actually, within your body. Okay, there's all this extra stuff that the website needs to render, but you can see this is the HTML that we're sending, right? That's the HTML that we wrote. So what I'm gonna ask you guys to do is to create your own function, to create your own component that you can actually place on your page.tsx, and we're gonna do that together. So what we will have you guys do is right now in the template that you're given, you don't have a components folder, but we're going to ask you guys to make a components folder. And you're just going to call it components. And make sure it's aligned with all these other folders within your app folder, so it's in the right place. And within components, we're going to create a JSX file. And I'm just going to call it demo.jsx. So it's going to start out looking like this. And what's the first step? What's the first thing that you guys think we should do if we want this function to be accessible? Yeah, go ahead. Exactly. So we're going to do export because we want to another file to be able to access this component. We're going to do default. Default, this keyword, I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it just means, because technically you could have multiple functions within something within a file, but default is going to be like the default one that is sent out. But we'll do default function demo, and then with every function you need the parentheses after it, and then this is the name of the function, and then we'll do the brackets. Okay, and now it's not yelling at me anymore. And then we need to do some return, and we need to provide some content within this HTML. So in your task, you're going to need to create a component with a header tag, a paragraph tag, an image tag, and a div tag. Well, first, the div tag is the easiest one to do. You just need a div like this, right? A div. And then you need a header tag. So it could look like h1, h2, h3. All of these are considered header tags. You could do header, but let's just do h1. And then you'll notice that as you're typing, when you do h1 and then you just do the last little arrow, it'll actually autofill it for you. And between these tags, you can just say, this is my demo component. And then it's asking for a paragraph tag. A paragraph tag is just key, and then you'll just say, hi, this is a paragraph. And then finally, it's asking for an image tag. So image tags are kind of unique because what you need is some sort of source. Like you need to tell them, okay, what image do you want to put in here? And right now you can access something, any images from your local folder or local project. Right now, you'll mainly get images from your public folder. So let's just get it from our public folder. So what we'll do is we have to find the path to that folder. So we know that our file, the SVG, is in our public folder, which is within our app folder. So within app, if we want to access public, we have to go public/file.svg. And then finally, our last element that's it. So we have this demo component. It's done. It has everything we want. How do we get it into our home page? What do you guys think the first step is? Yeah, we have to import it, right? We exported it. Now we have to import it. So we're exporting it from our components folder, and in order to access our components folder from our page.tsx, we have to go into the components folder. So we're going to import demo. Your components have to be capitalized with a capital D from, and then you need this quotation to tell it that you're getting it from a path. And then // tells you you're getting it from a different path. And you'll see these options auto-populate. And we know that it's going to be components. And then we'll do another slash. And then it'll show up with demo. And then you'll end it with the semicolon. Okay, so what you see now is you have imported it. But there's one problem. Or not one problem. When you have a component that's not being used in your code, it will be like grayed out a bit, which I think is helpful. But in order to actually use our component, we need to go down here, and we'll use our component by making another tag by the name of whatever the name of the component we use. So it doesn't necessarily have to be demo. It could be like hello, and then you could just name this hello. It doesn't actually need to be the name of the function you're exporting, because you can just say import whatever, but let's just do demo. And I'm getting an issue with my image, and that might be because okay, yeah. Sorry, wrong path. I guess apparently I don't need to reference the public folder. I can just do file.svg. And now all the code that I wrote in here actually appears on my homepage now. And it was really simple. All I needed to do was go into my page.tsx, import it from my components folder, and add this demo tag here. And then I could just wrote the HTML here. And all of this is very basic HTML. This is all that we want you guys to do for this week. Of course, I highly encourage you guys to try out even more, like really try to break stuff and add more things. But all I'm asking you guys to do is have this done by next Monday. And if you have questions, ask us. And then eventually, like, you're gonna fill out each of these pages with content, and it's gonna look really pretty. But right now, this is all I'm asking of you. But before we go in, before I show you guys a little bit more, I'm just gonna ask if anyone has any features that they want me to show right now, or anything like that. Is there anything else I want to show? Oh yeah, this is kind of like what H2 looks like. Hi. Oh wait, I just realized H1 is the same size as SP. It might be a styling thing. Let's see. Is it because of this? Oh, Next provides a basic styles that applies to everything, but not super important. Okay. I can show you guys props. Props. So props is like that parameter. So if this is my demo component, hi props.name. And then if I go into demo and I set my name parameter to Flory, now it says hi Flory. But if I say make another demo component, I can say hi not Flory. And now it updates that. So the power of these components, instead of having to write this HTML every single time, you can just write it once, and then you could copy and paste this wherever you need throughout your code and update the props. And this is a huge foundational concept for probably what you're gonna do for the rest of this semester. But again, it doesn't need to be that complex yet. I just wanted to show you guys that because in case you guys want to learn a bit more. But yeah, that was just a very quick demo. Okay. As a review, you guys got a little bit of exposure to HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, Next, GitHub, and Git so far. You guys will get a lot more in-depth training next week with HTML and CSS and whatnot. But I just wanted to get you guys introduced to that. Here's our timeline for the rest of the semester. So February, we're basically done. We've completed everything. I actually moved CSS and styling to next month so we could actually get more introduction to web dev. But then next month is going to be the bulk of development. And then April will be the latter half of development, and then possibly API calls or extra meeting topics. And then May is going to be the first week I think is going to be our website demos. Okay. We also found an issue with the template that we provided you guys. So the router is not routing, so you guys just have to follow these instructions. It's going to take 2 seconds. We'll be here until everyone, I'll be here until everyone gets the help that they need after today's meeting. But we'll share these slides with you guys. You just need to move some stuff around and then delete a folder, and then the routing will work. But here are just some tips. You don't focus on JavaScript or styling or anything. Just focus on the HTML content and get comfortable using these tags. Use these React tutorials. Use use some HTML to. I actually might remove this. I don't want you guys to do too much React yet, but just focus on HTML for now. If you're stuck, please use the Dev GPT channel. Do not go to ChatGPT. ChatGPT is rotting your brain. I'm like actually so serious. I feel like people don't. I mean, I trust you guys, but like, it's better to ask for help from us. I'm genuinely so serious. That's how you're gonna learn. It's okay if it looks ugly. If it's okay if it breaks. Just get on a call with me. I'd rather help you out at 11 p.m. than like have you come in with like super polished chat code, because this is what's gonna make you competitive in your interviews. And if you really want to find like a good paying job in like the CS field right now. Okay. Just some tips, technical tips for when you actually get your thing started. Whatever. Next week, this is just going to be content. This is going to be all the styling. This is going to be more components, more stuff. This is your task for this week. If you have any questions, just like refer to these slides. You just have to do what I just showed, basically, in this demo. Just do that. Create a first sale account. And next week, we will actually start working on our website. So have your website designs finished by Monday. So that means you have to add your Figma link to the tracker sheet. Okay. I'm sorry if that was a lot, guys. I hope that didn't scare you. But if you guys have any questions, please ask Zeal or me. And I think Zeal's taking attention. Do you know?
Yes, I have 3 people, but is Masa here? Okay, got you. Is Shanvi and Sahasra. Okay, I didn't want to like mispronounce your name.
Okay, thanks, guys. If anyone has any questions, please stay here and I can explain it to you. You guys got it. We got you.
I'm very sorry. I actually have a question. Wait, do you speak Vietnamese?
Not like that, though.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Oh, okay. So I having a problem that I don't know how to clone it.
Okay.
Wait, did you get? Okay, yeah.